So I've been getting this question so much. If I forgot to file my Form 5472, am I going to get a $25,000 penalty? Well, it's a complicated question, and I'm going to give you a full answer based on my experience, what I've seen happen, and what's supposed to happen. So technically, if you are a foreign person and you have an LLC, you have to disclose your related party transactions on this Form 5472 before April 15th, which is already passed. Or if you file it late or incorrectly, you'll get an automatic $25,000 penalty, which is pretty insane considering what we're actually filing, what we're reporting. So I'm going to go through my experience here. So in my experience, I haven't seen these penalties before in this context. I've seen these penalties assessed when you're filing a corporate income tax return, and I've seen them assessed for people who file the corporate returns late. I haven't seen it for the Forms 5472 done incorrectly, but mostly when returns are done late and those are attached. Historically, the Form 5472 was just for corporations, and it was to report related party transactions between corporations and related parties, mostly from the guise of transfer pricing. So if a corporation is in the U.S. paying taxes and you have to file a 5472 to report these transactions, is this corporation sending out too much money, unjustifiably reducing their tax base and paying too little taxes in the U.S.? Now, in 2017, the IRS changed the code. I guess Congress changed the code to include a foreign-owned single-member LLC to be covered by this code section 6048, which would require the disclosure of related party transactions. Now, the forms are faxed to the IRS, and I've done them for clients late. I've done them for clients for back years, but I haven't gotten penalties from it if I've sent it. I've had clients that have sent them late, but also sent them incorrectly, and they've gotten penalties, and we've had to fight the penalties, but it's not something that is very common. And I'll tell you how that kind of works and why it works and what I'd recommend. If you open an LLC and never used it for anything, I probably wouldn't file. If you open an LLC and you've been using it extensively for many years, I would consider filing the late forms, because right now, the IRS is not actively assessing penalties based on what I've seen. This could change at any time. The IRS can start assigning people to this, and they can start assessing these penalties at any time. But as of the recording of this video, I've actually haven't had it happen for a form that we've submitted the right way with no numbers on the 1120, file a pro forma 1120 with the 5472 attached to it. So I haven't had an example where one of my clients has received penalties for filing this form late or incorrectly. But again, that doesn't mean I would recommend you not do it. It means that I review each situation case by case. If you don't do it, the likelihood of you getting a penalty is very low. But if you do it, then it closes the statute of limitations, and the IRS only has 3 years really to audit this and penalize you if they're going to do that. So in certain situations, I would recommend filing the late forms and just getting them all filed. But in other situations, I would say probably don't do anything. And that's if you open an LLC and never use it for anything. So it's really a case-by-case situation here. But in my experience, it's very uncommon to get these penalties assessed. When filling out the Form 5472 to report your related party transactions, they define those as contributions to the LLC, distributions from the LLC, costs paid in connection to opening, and costs paid in connection with closing the LLC. Now, many clients use their LLCs for basically their personal checking accounts for all kinds of expenses. Now, that's fine. There's some legal reasons not to do that, but most people, it doesn't really matter because they have very little legal exposure anyways. So it's not like you're going to have your LLC veil pierced and get sued, because it's just, you have very little legal exposure anyways. But what I would recommend is to have one main account. Like if you're using RelayFi, you can have a main operating account, and then you can have a sub account that you use for your personal expenses and your personal stuff. And then we would consider everything you send from the main business to the sub account a distribution. That's kind of how we would do it. If you have many different things that you spend on your personal behalf that aren't really company expenses, those could be considered as distributions. Like the main part of the Form 5472 that we want to do is format it correctly, submit it correctly, and submit it on time. So the odds of the IRS auditing and being hypercritical of the numbers on the form are really, really, really low. Mainly because there's no tax on the form. So there's no motivation for the IRS to audit these forms. There's no difference in how the tax is computed. Where if you have a corporation and you're getting audited, the 5472 would get looked at because these are really important to the tax calculation. But a form 5472 for a foreign-owned single-member LLC has no tax implications. So I don't try, on my videos, I don't push a huge fear of getting a penalty. I don't fear sell with my clients. I'm not here saying, if you don't file, you will get a penalty, because the truth is, I haven't seen it for any of my clients, and it hasn't been the case. I would recommend you comply because the IRS has the right to assess these penalties. But if they do assess the penalty, we eventually just fight it and send letters until eventually nothing comes back. And that's been my experience with fighting these penalties, is you send a letter. In 3 months, they send you a letter saying they need 3 more months. And then 3 more months after that, they send another letter saying they need 3 more months. And then eventually no letters come in. And that's kind of the end of it. I don't know if they get rid of it or what they're doing, because there were some law changes about how they collect and how they assess these penalties, because they're civil penalties. They're not even IRS tax or real enforcement penalties, or civil penalties. So in summary, if you have an LLC, you should file the form 5472 with attached to a pro forma 1120 every year by April 15th. If you need help doing it, we of course do that. If you didn't do it for prior years and you have a big business, I would consider actually filing, even if it's late right now, because the IRS is not assessing penalties now, from my experience. We send these forms all the time. And you can ask for a 6-month automatic extension of time to file by filing a form 7004. I have videos on YouTube on how to do that. They're old, but the form hasn't changed. I think that's it. If you want help from our team to open bank accounts, to open LLCs, to do these forms, to do any of that stuff, you can schedule a free call, www.jamesbakercpa.com/schedule, or click the link in the description. Thank you.